So, for my second paper, I chose to read Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. The book covers perception, logical thinking, and behavioral economics in one of the author's most famous publications and had won a Nobel Prize. The book is essentially an attempt by Kahneman to cover how we think, biases we hold, and how they keep us back from success. One of the biggest topics in this book is the functions of the brain and how everything works to force our ways of thinking and our logical processes. Kahneman explains this as our brain containing two systems, one operating faster than the other. System 1 operates at a higher speed, and because of this, it's referred to as one in which is voluntary and reacts intuitively to the information that it's presented with. The second system goes off more logic-based focus of reasoning, concentration, and debate. And these two systems rarely converge to form unified ideas because of how vastly different they are. Simply put, System 1 is almost our mentality on a game show where whoever buzzes first to get the answer. Our brain goes full speed in giving a more raw and intuitive answer than if we had actually taken time to think about it before buzzing. Our brain goes into full speed and provides that raw answer because that's what the system basically does, is as soon as it's presented with a situation, it does its best to react as quick as possible. System 2, however, on the contrary, goes the long route to process the question fully and more likely involved in the completing. So this system will be more likely involved when you're doing something that's a deeper thought level process, such as, completing the Sunday newspaper crossword puzzle or whatever. System 1 is also more prone to error and functions to make our first impressions of people. From here, System 2 carries the impressions and emotions that System 1 has interpreted from making initial reads and turns them into more high-level products of beliefs and actions that we should be taking. System 2 is effective in controlling the overall functions of the brain, and it is capable of altering any of the impulses that come in from System 1. System 2 is also better at following rules and making more extensive thought-based decisions, such as buying a house or something serious like going to college or not. It is also capable of programming our brain and is essentially the captain of our mind and has a final say on our outputs. Compared to the two uses of the systems, System 1 is always active and searching for information. It controls our automatic actions and is always consuming information while triggering various reactions that are more unconscious and intuitive. While System 1 is always consuming, System 2 is regarded as a slower and lazier system. The outputs of System 2 are at a higher quality, but works to complete the processing with as little effort as possible. This is where heuristics and natural tendencies come from. System 2 always looking for a way out of thinking that's an easier route. This is regarded as Kahneman's law of effort, and to have a well-functioning brain, both of these systems need to be working together effectively to find a good balance between reacting quick and also applying those deeper level thought processes. Along with the systems in our brain, we also experience cognitive reactions of the systems working, what they're always completing and evaluating. When our brain feels things are going well and the systems aren't feeling overused, Kahneman says what this is called is cognitive ease. This is contrasted by cognitive strain. Cognitive strain is the overuse of the systems causing problems and feelings of stress or mental anxiety. Simply put, these can be differentiated by referring back to the theory of effort. When in cognitive ease, we feel better about our current situation and feel as if things are going well and all is right with everything. However, when we're in a strained state, the systems go into overdrive and we're more receptive to the environments around us and feel less comfortable because of how hard our brain is actually functioning to be alert, thus consuming more effort. When in cognitive strain, humans are more vulnerable to biases and making errors because of how much effort decisions are actually taking and the energy needed. Remember, System 2 is the lazier system and desires to avoid strain, and however, the strain can eventually lead to some biases. As mentioned, System 1 is always the one running and interpreting, and it's always evaluating new information that's presented to it. When something unexpected happens, System 1 notes it as an abnormality, and then System 2 goes above and beyond to interpret it and deem if it was normal or abnormal. While at first System 2 is constantly keep aligning this action that might be interpreted as an abnormality, such as maybe a hurricane in the middle of, the United States in a country like Oklahoma or something like that. It's an abnormality, and as it becomes more frequent, System 2 will start aligning it with normal, and then our brain will change its perception. Remember, earlier in this paper I discussed that System 1 is less likely to have final say, and System 2 can change any of the impulses or interpretations System 1 has provided. So, System 1 will jump to the conclusion that even though there is an abnormality, after a while, seeing it so frequently, it might be eventually put into the process and regarded as System 2 as maybe it isn't an abnormality anymore and it's a more normal course of action. What this is called is Kahneman's theory of WISIATI, and what this stands for is what you see is all there is. This acronym is a complete summary of how System 1 thinks and reacts to its environments and creates conclusions and establishes final verdicts on different matters. Overall, the systems of the brain can be applied in various worlds, and as a result of the law of effort, there's different effects of these biases and heuristic answers that we're using to provide an answer to a question without, going into that deep level of thought process and trying to keep things efficient. So some of the biases Kahneman talks about are the ones we've covered in class, such as anchoring, abnormality theory, outcome biases, and other various topics that we've already covered in the class. Overall, I really did enjoy kind of reading this book. It was interesting to kind of learn about the systems of the brain. And then Kahneman kind of, he points out throughout the whole book these different topics. And in conclusion, we learned that we cannot always trust System 1 and its intuition and quick actions and heuristic judgments because of how much there is to some decisions. So when approaching problems, it's best to maintain a systematic approach that processes things slower, much more like System 2 does. Sometimes what appears to be as simple as a heuristic jumping in may need some further thought. And along with this, we always should be taking into account our internal biases and doing everything we can by comparing them to actual evidence to make sure that they're not being leveraged by System 1. Removing laziness from our thought process will allow us to have higher quality information available and make better decisions. So maybe we should all start thinking slow.